Most functions are going to cross both the x-axis and the y-axis, which means equations will usually cross the x and y axis, especially if they're linear equations, which is what we're studying now. So when a line crosses the x-axis, it will cross at a point, and we refer to that point as the x-intercept. So the point at which the line crosses the x-axis is called the x-intercept. The point at which the line crosses the y-axis is referred to as the y-intercept. You can see here that 0, 6 is the point at which this line crosses the y-axis, so that's the y-intercept. Almost all linear equations, when graphed, will cross both the x and y axis. There are a few exceptions that we will see today. It's very easy to figure out what your x-intercept and what your y-intercept are going to be. Think about it. Where the line crosses the x-axis, your y value will always be 0 because you've only gone sideways, you haven't gone up and down yet. And where your line crosses the y-axis, your x value will always be 0 because you haven't gone sideways, you've only gone up and down. So if we want to find our x-intercept or our y-intercept, we just let the other variable be equal to 0 and solve. So for example, if we want to find the y-intercept, which again is where the line crosses the y-axis, all we have to do is let x equal 0 and solve for y. That will give us our ordered pair for the y-axis for where the line crosses it. And then if we want to find the x-intercept, all we have to do is let x equal 0 and, let y equal 0. So we're going to let y equal 0 and solve for x. So let's see how this works. The first thing you're going to want to do is put your equation in standard form. It just makes the math really easy. So here's an equation that's already in standard form, 3x plus negative 4y equaling negative 12. Let's start by letting y equal 0 and solve for x. That will give us the x-intercept. So when I let y equal 0, I put 0 in the place of y in my equation, which means I'm going to get 3x plus 0 equals negative 12, or 3x equals negative 12. Then I solve for x by dividing both sides by 3, and x equals negative 4. So what I've done is I've let y equal 0 and found x, so this gives us an ordered pair. What do you think the ordered pair is? If you think that it is negative 4 or 0, then you are correct. So our x value is negative 4 when our y value is 0 for this particular equation. So now let's look at finding the y-intercept. When you find the y-intercept, you let x equal 0, and then you solve for y. So in this case, we're going to put 0 in the place of x, and then we'll solve this equation for y. So we end up with 0 plus negative 4y equals negative 12. So negative 4y equals negative 12. And then we divide both sides by negative 4, and y equals 3. So what do you think the ordered pair is for our y-intercept? If you think that it is 0, 3, then you are correct. The next thing you do is you graph these two ordered pairs on the coordinate plane, and then you connect the line that goes between them. So now we're going to graph negative 4, 0 and 0, 3. So negative 4, 0 and 0, 3. So negative 4, 0 is our x-intercept, and 0, 3 is our y-intercept. So here's 0, 3, and negative 4, 0 is right here, and then we just connect them. with a line. Make sure that you put arrows on both ends of your line to show that they go on forever. And then you also want to write the equation along the line to name it. So in this particular example, our equation is 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 12. 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 12. And that's how you graph using x and y intercepts. In the next videos, I'll show you some particular examples of things that can be a little bit trickier, but this is your basic example. Before we stop, however, let me show you a trick you can do. So when you're looking at your equations, for example, this equation was 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 12. I kind of imagine when I let x equals 0, I just kind of imagine that's gone, and I look at the equation negative 4y equals negative 12, and I solve it in my head, and y is going to equal 3. So I know I get 0, 3 for my y-intercept. And then when I'm solving for x, I do the same thing. And see, because we're in standard form, we can do this. So imagine 3x equals negative 12, so obviously x is going to be negative 4. So that's negative 4, 0. And that's how I do it really fast, but of course you can always work these out showing all the steps.